time when I say, well, when I just sit here and then Hop says, yep, okay. Welcome back, everybody, to Pointless Disc.
Well, it sounds like you got it covered.
Nope, that's not my job.
All right. So yes. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Discourse, where myself, Hoppocalypse and DPayne
Hello.
talk about topics that we let you guys vote on Twitter. This week, the winner is Tabletop Games to Live In.
Worst.
Worst.
Oh, wait. I did worst. Oh, wait, no, okay.
I feel like it's both.
Yes, it's both. I miss. What did I name this week?
do you
Hold
need
on.
do you need
Am
to
I?
fix your episode or
Hold
fix your
on.
answers?
One's a. Oh, yeah. One's. Not answer, just title. Just take worst out. Tabletop Games to Live In. There we go. We're professionals. We've done about like 17 episodes or whatever we're up to.
Am I starting the intro over again? Or are we good?
Nah, we're good. We'll keep it all in.
So, yes, Tabletop Games to Live In, where we cover the best and worst of those options. So I'm curious, if you entitled it Worst Tabletop Games to Live In, do you have the best worst?
No. I miswrote the podcast episode.
Oh, okay. But yes, we can elaborate on how that topic's going to work as we start talking about the topics. I don't believe we have any special announcements this week.
We did, but then something changed. So that will come out next week.
Ooh, tune in next week.
Foreshadowing stuff.
But
Don't you tisk me. I know the thing says I won't interact with chat, but I'll call that out.
But yeah, so then our first steps in figuring out how we jump into our topics that we've come up with is we roll our d20s because we are tabletop nerds, hence the topic.
It only took us 17 episodes. Are we on episode 17?
Yes, you
okay.
got that one
yes.
right.
Yes, it only took us 17 episodes to get to a tabletop themed episode. You had a interesting reaction to your dice roll. What was it?
An 8.
I have an 8 in mine too. Natural 18.
I feel like I haven't rolled above a 10 for a talking topic in
Yeah.
a very long time.
Well, for the first 10 episodes, I don't think I've won talking points.
Yes. So to elaborate what we do with these numbers, whoever gets the highest number gets to go first. We don't have any initiative bonuses because we don't have our dexterity stats because we don't know how to look those up.
Oh man, it would be fun to count however many we won, and that is our initiative bonus, which will get really crazy if we ever get above like 50 episodes, because potentially someone could have a plus 30 and keep winning.
Yeah, it would snowball. And then the loser's dice dictates which topic we talk about first. I got an even, so we talk about our best
Good.
options. Yeah, the good options first.
All right. So, and I guess one thing this and well, I guess once she starts talking about her, she will explain how she came to how she was thinking about her own topics. But we both decided that we weren't just going to do just trade tabletop, not trade, role playing tabletop board game something like Dungeons and Dragons, like Dungeons and Dragons and a board game. Like we weren't choosing between the two topics or two different ideas. We combined them both. So I know on mine I have a fusion of both. I just realized both my good ones are of the same one, and the bad ones are both of the same one. Anyway, so yeah, this actually, if we go back to a previous episode, I didn't look up what episode it is. I'm gonna find out later, or someone can find out for me, where we talked about books. I want to say it's episode 6. I don't think that's right, but one of the early episodes we talked about our childhood books that we read a lot. And in that episode, I remember naming a series called Redwall. And Redwall, for people who don't know, is pretty much Lord of the Rings. I'm trying to think of other King Arthur. Actually, it's a lot more like King Arthur, but Narnia stuff, like that, all kind of lore, but with animals. And today, when I look at stuff, like I enjoy games like Pathfinder and uh like D&D and just stuff like it's funny, I don't like fantasy style movies or like medieval fantasy movies and stuff, but I like, or really like Skyrim, but I like playing the games. And I was like, man, it'd be even better if I could be an animal in these games. So thus my number follow up runner up for my good topic is Mouse Guard. For people who don't know, Mouse Guard is a shorter role playing game where you have to like pretty much do like a few different tasks. If I remember, and I remember I was reading through the rules of setting it up, where you need like a weather situation, an animal, and then an obstacle to get around. And like each one determines different things, but you get to play as little mice, and you just run around with like mice with like stinking huge like buster swords and just all these like and crossbows and stuff, and you just have to go complete these different tasks and stuff. And I have it on my shelf, and I read through the rules, and I really want to play it, but I don't have any friends that would play it with me. So so there it sits right next to, well, all the other tabletop games that, well, one, due to COVID, and two, no one comes over that I can't play with. So um but yeah, that would definitely be my one. I don't really have a lot to say about it. I just think it's one of those things I just think would be a really fun concept for a lot of things. Like the game For Honor. I think they should make a version of that where you're just a giant jiggly hamster in samurai armor, or a bunny in Viking armor, or I don't know.
Just cute animals in armor.
Yeah, but like keep everything else the same. You just have like all the all like the fatalities and everything, but you're just like I'm a gerbil. This is cool. Oh my gosh. Sword doesn't go there. Oh no.
Would they talk or would they just squeak a lot?
Let me roll die. Well, I rolled an even number. If I rolled a natural one, they were definitely screaming. So maybe, I don't know. I had a middling number, and I don't have a modifier to add to it or subtract. So it's either or. I think it'd be interesting if sometimes you could understand them and other times you couldn't.
So anytime that they would be cursing, they squeak in their natural animal dialect.
Yeah.
It's like when people who are like multilingual, if they're mad, they go into whatever their native language is.
That's great. So, but yeah, that's one of the things I think would be really interesting. But I don't know. It's also one of those things because the world of Mouse Guard, it's it's not like everything is scaled to mouse, like where like average human height, like in D&D or Pathfinder, like you have your human height and the world is scale to them. The world is still scaled to the size of a small mouse, and or even a large mouse. It's not like a, well, I guess the large mouse is a small rat. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'll let other people figure that one out. And yet, so there's like parts where what seems like a small little like trickle of water to us is a rushing river people have to cross by. A light rain or a thunderstorm is much more devastating to them because they're small. So it's just like I know an example scenario is it's raining outside, like it's thundering and lightning. You need to get into shelter. Otherwise, if you don't, you have the risk of being swept away by the rain. You find a cave and it's safe. However, in the cave is a badger. And so you have to go fight off the badger or parlay with it or however you want to play it out. And so it's just the concept of the world sounded really cool, but then I don't know. It's as I said, I don't know. I'm also one of the people that when I play games like this, I don't like being human because I already am one.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think I only have one game of a role playing game where I've been human, but that's because I wanted to be a noble. And in that universe, like, for you to be a noble, there's only one not human one, and they were dwarves. And I was like, but I want to be a wizard.
Man, that'd be a great wizard dwarf.
But I understand what you mean about the whole concept. That's been interesting. I actually kickstarted an RPG book where you're rabbits, and it's that same kind of feeling, except
What's it called?
the Warren.
Oh, I heard of that.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if you're gonna bring up Humblewood.
No, no. The Warren though is not a fantasy one with rabbits. It's if you've ever read Watership Down.
I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
Yeah, it's like normal rabbits dealing with, you know, deforestation and wild animals and mean people. So it's I started reading it and I just don't know if I could convince people to play it with me because it's more of you're not expected to keep your character for a long time. There's a whole generational system in it. So it's one of those things where like if your character has a baby rabbit with another character, then you play as their kid to continue the.
Reminds me of Tokyo Jungle.
That one I'm not familiar with. But
It's not a board game.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask you, are you familiar, since, you know, bringing up mice and things and Mouse Guard, are you familiar with Mice and Mystics?
It sounds familiar, but I am not.
That one's an actual like structured board game, not like an RPG system, but it's a board game in where I haven't played it before. I just double checked the synopsis where you are like a prince and you and your closest friends all get turned into mice and you have to as mice navigate human-sized world to warn the king of nefarious deeds and that you got turned into a mouse. So it feels like you could also, yeah, feels like it's also in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, that does remind me, like Humblewood. For people who don't know, it's a 5e Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition like extra stuff that someone made. I forget who made it. It's like right over there. I could grab it in like 2 seconds, but like that would be a fun campaign because everything's pre-written. So I could, if there was interest last time, it'll probably have to be after October because I move potentially in the next few months. I know that Humblewood has its own campaign, but I know that you can be like a little owl knight, and which is what sold me on this immediately. And so like all the creatures are like animals. But they're all like D&D classes. So you can be a warrior, but you're an owl, and he has just like armor and all this stuff. Just like woo, and it's great. They were actually at PAX Unplugged, this last year. So I don't know. That's one of the things. I don't really. Well, that's not true. Every once in a while, I think about getting a pet, but at the same time, I don't want one. So this is the closest thing I'll get to it where I can pretend to be an animal.
Mm.
I don't know, watch this time next year I'll have a pet and I'll be like, you animal, I'm recording, hush yourself.
And there's me with 3 rabbits who only make noise if they want to sass me with anything, but they don't bark and they don't meow, so I guess those are different pluses.
Do they scream?
No, there's no screaming. That would be if you got yourself a bird.
Oh man, there's so many bird videos that I watch. And I'm like, those are so cool, but I don't really want to deal with the bird. Their feet scare me.
Do they? I guess it depends how big of a bird you get.
Yeah, I don't know. There's this guy in the apartment complex. Like I have to be careful because my window's open, but I don't see him out there. He has a parrot, and I know that the wings are I know enough about birds and looking because I did look into it. Um, but like if their wings are clipped, they can't fly. But they can grow back and fly again. So it's like a procedure that needs to be like repeated after until they won't fly for long distances. Um, so like the parrot just sits on the dude's shoulder, and the parrot just like crawls back and forth and just stares at like anyone that's walking by, just like. But he looks like I'm like I think I have a Twitter post where I'm just like I think one of the people in the apartment complex is a pirate. So, but yeah, that's all. Like I don't know if there's any more animal like games where I can be an animal. Thinking about it, like my first D&D character, my first D&D character was a tiefling, which is really interesting being the only tiefling up in a Bible college. But um this my second character was a kobold who found dire wolves and wolves in cages, and everyone told me not to free them, and I was like, be free, my friends. And then they took out a whole bandit army. I never
Nice.
saw them again. So but yes, that is my first one.
Okay. I took a bit of a different approach. I do play role playing games, but I'm not familiar with too many systems. I have a handful of systems I know, but when I thought about all the RPG systems I am familiar with, all of them just seemed very stressful. Like, yeah, I enjoy D&D and things like that, but do I really have to want to be an adventurer put in stressful situations where everyone might die all the time? Nah. So I kind of went um with my introverted lazy self. I went with the approach of, like kind of like in board games you tend to have jobs, right? So I went with kind of more like that route where I was like, what would be a nice easy lazy thing I would actually enjoy doing? There's this one game, it's an alright game, it's called, I think, Networks or The Networks, and the concept is basically you're the like you set up the shows that show up on the TV network, but with the
That's cool.
art and the titles, it's all like punny, goofy stuff. So it's got like offbeat Star Trek, and they call it like Star Adventurers. But you can clearly tell by the art, you're like, that's just knockoff Star Trek. But the idea is like you start off and you have to do like weird ad campaigns to slowly earn money until you can put on like the hit shows like Star Adventure. I don't remember if that's an actual example, but it's that kind of stuff. But I just thought that was like, I think it's an interesting job to figure out because in the game there's a little bit of like management where you can only have certain shows on certain slots, they do better in certain things, and your network overall does better if you match, if you're a science fiction TV network, you want to get all the science fiction shows, blah blah blah. But overall I just think it's like goofy fun and an interesting job. And I was trying to look at
Yeah.
a lot of the other board games that I own. I have too thick of a library of board games. And my actual genre of board game I like is that whole high stress survival. And I was looking through, I was like, nope, 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 would not want to live there, would not, would not, would not, would not, would not.
Yes. Your whole like starting conversation of that, which I know kind of goes against Mouse Guard, but like I don't know. I said what I liked about it, but um, I just realized that's kind of why I want to be a druid. Anyway, um, like wild shape. The what was I gonna say? Yeah, the whole thing like Pathfinder D&D. I was sitting there, I'm like, man, yeah, I could learn magic, but I gotta go fight a giant, every once in a while, and then there's like goblins. So like I was
There's
thinking of this.
expectations on your character. You don't
Yeah,
get, unless you're just like a hokey villager that's just like runs the inn. But sometimes if you're the guy that runs the inn gets attacked and you might not make it out just because some group of adventurers were like, oh, we pissed off the big baddie, we're gonna hide here for the night.
yeah. It's but then that's when like you have the story change, and it turns out I was an adventurer too, but then I got bored or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't want to hunt the big dragon, so now it's your turn to hunt the big
Yeah.
dragon. Here's all the information I gathered.
Yeah, that's like if it was an anime, that's when it like flips, and it's just like, oh no, we pissed off the big bad, they're here, and it's just like, excuse me, what are you doing in my bar? And they like crack the knuckles. Oh, I actually did. And it's just great. Now all I'm thinking of is like normal Hop, because me and Hop met in real life, and I'm just imagining just like how the anime stuff, whenever you have like the tough person, the camera shifts and the camera looks up, like kind of how RoboCop, whenever you have RoboCop in there, is it looks down?
No, it would
Well, it
look
looks
up
down at the people. Yeah. Well, it looks up at the intimidating person,
and
looks
then down at the rest of the people.
at the rest of them, and it's just like Hop says it. There is a height difference between the two of us, a touch, and I'm just now imagining like Hop growing 2 feet and just getting muscles. Like, what are you doing in my bar?
I was trying to say that the camera would have to look down at me.
Yeah, but it's still like intimidating, mad, just like what? What are you doing in the slumbering bunny?
Yeah, but I couldn't think of a lot of other great notes to put to this particular game. I was trying to think of other games, but I didn't want to be unfair and just be like, that looks like a cool world to live in. But then through research, find out that the board game's actual plot is like stressful and chaotic and awful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like that's like that whole concept of that was like a really cool. I don't know. I think it's a really cool like job as well. Just finding finding out what works. Like for TV, like there's just some like people that I think they just luck out, and it doesn't matter what, like the Sci-Fi Channel. You could put up any garbage TV show, and I think you're not going to lose your job unless it's something super offensive.
But sci-fi has also created itself a great niche because I grew up loving it because they it's like they purposely fund bad movies because they know people will sit there and laugh whether they're meant to be laughed at or not. Like,
Yeah, it's like straight to video, but it's like straight to Sci-Fi Channel.
yeah. So it's got like a weird niche where they do have some quality shows that are,
Oh yeah,
like Battlestar Galactica and stuff like that, where they're like, oh, I'm gonna turn it into sci-fi to get that episode, and then they'll put in something like really random afterwards. But you're already on the channel, so you're like, I guess I'll try it.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish Dollhouse went over to the Sci-Fi Channel. I think that probably would have worked out better.
I feel like Joss Whedon always ends up on Fox, and that it always the only one that stuck was Buffy, right?
Yeah.
For multiple seasons.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember watching Dollhouse, and I'm like, that's like the concept of it is really cool. And then in the second season, I don't know. I dropped off a little while ago, or not a little. Sounds like I'm still watching it. I'm not. I haven't watched. I haven't watched that show, but it was just. Wait a second. Is the guy in Dollhouse the same guy from Cabin in the Woods?
I have not watched either.
You like horror, right?
Yeah.
You would probably enjoy Cabin in the Woods.
I know that one's more spoofy. I've been meaning to watch it. I think it's on Hulu or something.
Yeah. Being a fan of horror, I'm pretty sure you will enjoy it. You trusted me on Moon, so I feel like you can trust that, which is a harder pull than Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, that's fair. I keep wanting to make the joke I make about that movie, but I can't because it's a very early spoiler.
Yes. Everyone go watch Moon so Hop can say the joke and not just in text to me. Yeah, but no, that whole concept though of just like choosing, like when you were explaining it, it reminded me, I think, of another movie I'm not sure if you saw yet, Nightcrawler, with
Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal, yeah. Because there's a little bit of that in there too, where you kind of see behind the scenes where it's just like it's more news, but it's which I feel like I've seen more games go more from like the news side of it, but in a video game, the news makes more sense for a storyline of controlling the news and finding out what stories go out and everything and
Mm-hmm.
what doesn't. While this is like run a network. So wait, are there multiple people? I knew we were going to talk about lore, but now I just want to learn more about the game.
Yeah, it is. I think it's up to 5 players, and it's that whole system where you're all there's. I think it's so many cards are revealed in the center. You earn money to be able to get that show onto your network, and then you put that show on your network to earn you money. Kind of like
What's it called again?
I think it's either networks or the networks.
Guys, you're going to hear me type.
See,
Or
yeah, this is the mistake you get for giving me a board game topic because
this is a mistake for both of us having board game topics. We both like board games.
But I just mean that
You know more than me.
I'm just versed in them enough that I know how to like I don't know. I had the experience where I was in a board game store once and there was a guy that clearly was working at the store for like to resell magic cards, which is fine cuz they were like a big tournament store that happened to also sell board games. And this couple came in and they were like, "We want to play zombie board games." And this guy just started reading off the back of the box to other people. And I stepped in. I was like, first off, you're reading the expansion to another game. Second off, if you want a zombie board game, what board games do you play? And they're like, none. I was like, all right, ignore all of these. Look at these. This is the basic descriptions for all of these. And then they were like, oh, thanks for all the help. And the guy that was supposed to be working there was like, you should work here. And I was like, I don't want to work in a place where you guys don't even know your own job. You know what I mean? It's like
GameStop.
Do you want to buy the new Call of Duty? No, I'm looking for this JRPG. But Call of Duty.
Yeah, Call of Duty right on over here and play.
But yeah, I just
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say like my board gaming habit started in college. So at this point, I would have been too invested into board games. I've kind of teetered off in recent years. I used to try and buy everything that was considered like on the hot list, but I've slowed down because I've finally figured out like what games I own and which ones overlap too much. But so then this means I've been playing board games now for 7-ish years.
Okay, yes.
Like all the
like
way
we've
into the
been-
habit.
Yeah.
And
Because go ahead.
and
Sorry,
to
I don't mean
clarify,
keep cutting you off.
sorry, and just to clarify, when I say board games, I mean the more modern board games, not just like, yeah, I've been playing Monopoly and Scrabble since I was a kid, but
That's like starter to make sure that you hate board games later. So I found like a picture of some of the cards, and the one on here is called American Samurai Warrior.
hmm
And it's not warrior like fighting warrior, like oh no, and it's like George Bush, a ginger George Bush in American samurai armor, just like
Yeah, like it's a very punny, cute game.
Yes.
It's not one that I play very often, but if I see it on the shelf and I'm in the mood for something just kind of like funny, then I'll pick that
Formal
one.
Ferrets. Didn't they make Exploding Kittens?
No, Exploding Kittens is by
Blind Ferret's something else.
yeah, Exploding Kittens is the comic company. I used to follow them before they came out with board games. Wow, I'm blanking on them.
Is it Blind Ferret?
No, it's not Blind Ferret.
Hey guys, I'm typing again. Exploding. Oh, that's not how you spell exploding.
Exploding Kittens is too much of a phenomenon that I can't find the comic series that Oatmeal. The Oatmeal.
Okay.
They've also come out with Bears versus Babies and something Throw the Burrito.
Oh yeah. I played Throw the Burrito. That's a funny game. It's
Yeah.
like Russian roulette,
Mm-hmm.
but you throw a burrito.
I mean, Exploding Kittens is also like Russian roulette, but kittens.
It's funny. I don't think if Knight's here, but like when I went to PAX South and we met, like they had throw the burrito, and we were in the Airbnb we had, and it was just we'd be sitting there, and all of a sudden like a burrito would go flying across the table, and we're like we're not even playing the game. Okay, well then, it took us 30 minutes to get step one, so
Well, step 1.5.
1.1.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're 1/6 through the podcast. um, oh man, we can't choose topics anymore that we're both excited about. Only half of us have to be excited about it now. Okay, was there anything else more that you wanted to share about
No,
it, or
I just think it's a cute game with a cool concept that does not give me anxiety thinking of if I was literally in the place of my character, I could probably find ways to enjoy this job. Whereas, like you said, Mouse Guard and D&D and Pathfinder, would I want to be my character? No. I play D&D so I could be in dangerous situations without actually being in them.
Mhm.
Like, it's fun conceptually, but I would not want to have to be the one that makes the decision, like, does this man live or die? And I'm like, well, he's a bad guy, but is he that bad?
And then that's when you have the person, witch bolt. Yeah, okay. So my top good tier, I forget what we call these things every 3 weeks, but my my first choice is actually another tabletop role playing game, and it's called. Well, before we go into it, it's just when I was thinking about this, and I'm like, what are some things like if I could do anything, like if I didn't have the restrictions of the world and not have to worry about like the financial side of it, what would be something I would like to do? And it's like I like traveling, I like exploring, and in this game, that's pretty much what it is all about. Plus some extra stuff because it is a role playing game, and it's called Seventh Sea. Um, in Seventh Sea, you pretty much become a crew of people, and you get on a boat and you travel from island to island, uh, to different seas, and it's kind of like 16th century Earth a little bit, but there's also magic and like kind of different creatures. Um, the game is like I remember listening to a podcast on it, and I'm like, this is really cool. And then I got the book for Christmas, and then it's one of those other games that now just sit on the shelf, and I'm like, someday, hopefully. But it's one of those things that I kind of like because you can make a pirate, you can be a pirate, but the way the game works is like you have to be a hero, you can't be a villain. Um, so, but one thing, like just from our conversations in this, is that you can make a character. Like, not every character does combat. Uh, and the way you finish a situation, like a combat situation, doesn't mean you always have to fight. There's like, I'm forgetting exactly how it works, but it's just like the way you get into a situation, and then there's different stages. You say what your character does to like each character has a different goal, and it kind of goes like a movie kind of scene where it's just like, okay, I want to go swing across, like if your boat is being attacked by another boat, it's like, okay, I'm going to use like I'm going to use like 2 of my points to channel this spell, which is going to make me stronger, and I'm going to defend my crewmate. And then like the enemy people, like they do stuff, and then like you do like rolls to go against each other, and then whatever one like gets close to however. I'm doing a very bad job because I haven't played it, but it's just like that how it works. But then there's other characters where it's like, say if your whole thing is like, I'm going to just sit there and find the weakness in this boat. I can't actually attack it, but I will find the weakness. Or it's like we are on an island and we're searching for this specific thing. So while the meathead characters are causing a distraction over here, I am in this building doing search checks to find this box, and then as soon as I find it, we can all leave, and stuff like that. But the whole so like that's like the surface level stuff, but then there's other things where you can go into like not ruins. They're pretty much like dungeons, kind of like in MMOs where you can go in there and there's just like ancient treasure and stuff you can find, and there's archaeological digs, but it's cool because it's not you just like taking a paintbrush and wiping dust away. It's like it's more like I guess Skyrim esque where you can see these like tombs and all these different things and exploring and pretty much the whole thought like the whole mindset behind Seventh Sea. And once I finish this thought, I got to close my door because I hear children screaming. Um, that it's all about exploration and just seeing different cultures and all this stuff. And um, I don't know, like the whole like this is why I was saying like I was thinking about putting Firefly the board game down, but I don't know how the board game actually is. But the concept of Firefly is like yeah they're smugglers slash like they take cargo from one place to another, but Firefly I feel like you're exploring this future world with this characters, but it's like a lot of hey let's find out like what this place is alongside of learning about these characters. And Seventh Sea is a lot of exploring and like getting on the boat and just sailing around. Actually, another good option for this is oh, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's a space version, like Unexplored Worlds, or it's it's part of the Fate system, so it's a very high narrative, low rules, but um, but like that it's something very similar to that where you it's you can go explore. And it's when I look at my own life and stuff, it's just I remember like whether I wanted to or not, like my parents, they they sent me to all my friends in because I went to a school where elementary and middle school were all together. And then once it hit eighth grade, that's as high as it went. And all my friends went to two different schools, and my parents sent me to Bucks County Technical High School, which I just realized I said where it was, and I might still be in that area, but whatever. I went there, and it's no one else was there, but I remember going there, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is like the first, excuse me, the only place, like I'm the only person of like the past 8 years like friend group that's going to this place. And like I would just see at that point I think it was MySpace and just like the few times like I would meet those friends and they would all still be like hanging out together. I'm like I'm at this new school now and I got to play with table saws. And like even just looking back at like camp, I remember my parents like sending me to this camp and I was the only person like from my whole friend group that went there. And then it was the next year until I was too old to go. Like everyone from my friends' parents group would send their kids there, and it would be like, I can't get away from you guys. So, but like even now, it's just going to like I don't know. I think cons I feel like is a very poor way of explaining like that exploring thing, but there's still a sense like it's and I'm still meeting people, but it's like it's not that I'm with going with people from home. It's I'm meeting up with people over there um and stuff. So it, the whole trying new things and experiencing new things and exploring new options that maybe a few of my like friends in like that I know like growing up wouldn't do right from the get-go is something that I guess I've done most of my life. And so this would just be more extreme because like I'm packing up my life and going on a boat to explore a world. And I don't know, there's just something. I wonder if I have like ancestors that that did something like this, and now it's like, I don't know. The whole phrase "it's in your blood" doesn't make sense, but it's like, I wonder if there's.
There's a
I wonder if.
Viking long, long ago.
Oh man, that'd be so cool.
A Viking
I'm
DPayne long, long
yes.
ago.
And it's just like Viking great great grandpa or great 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 grandpa. It's like looking down the bloodline, and it's just like, oh, my great 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 grandson. You sit in front of Lightbox. How dare you?
This is what I did. All this work.
Yes. Where's your boat? So.
That's when you download Raft. This is my boat.
Oh man.
Or Sea of Thieves, I guess, is a better one.
Yeah. I played Sea of Thieves once, and all my friends locked me in jail and then sunk the boat.
Oh no.
And it was like I was kind of annoyed there because it's like, this is the first time I'm playing. I was streaming, and I'm like, I never played this game. And then like all these people, the two friends I was playing with, knew the game, and immediately locked me in the boat. And I'm like, well, guys, I would like to show you more stuff than the bottom of the sinking boat, but apparently I don't have a say.
Oh.
And then they all came down and started throwing up on me because I drank too much.
Sea of Thieves in a nutshell.
Yeah. We didn't go after any statues though. So
Bad memories, man.
for people who are only listening to the audio, there is a frustrated faced Top just shaking her head in disgust.
It's probably a
about
clip
statues.
somewhere. I think it might actually be. I think there might be a highlight on my channel, and I think J2 Rudo also put a video up on his YouTube channel.
Yeah. It's a great scene.
I scream a lot. I always scream. But no, I mean, the travel thing is an interesting aspect, especially in that one seems much less stressful than other travel RPGs.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, because in all any trade, I keep saying trade because we were talking about comics and it's trade paperbacks, which is not what we're talking about. But yeah, it's in role-playing tabletop games, it's combat, especially D&D and Pathfinder, Starfinder, anything in there. Combat is an essential and core point to it, where in 7th C, it's more scenario based, like the whole any kind of what you would call combat. And so you might fight waves of enemies until you have to have something escape, and then the scene progresses and stuff. So it's not just straight combat. It's like you have to think ahead and just be like, and maybe do unexpected things like sending your guy down into the hull of the other ship and then lighting their black powder on fire and then run until the boat explodes. So it's it's an interesting system. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else to add on, or you feel
No.
content?
I feel content. I'm also like watching the time and it's like, okay, we can't go super deep into it.
Yeah,
But
which is unfortunate.
while you share yours, I can still hear because I have wireless headphones. I'm just gonna close my door because people decided to come outside.
Oh
There's
no, Summer! How
Where's
dare?
my flamethrower? I'll show them.
Is this the thing now?
Shooting a flamethrower at people. Wait, the thing?
The thing.
Oh wait, is that how they?
That's how they determine who is a thing, because they're scared of fire.
I never saw the thing, but I'm
spoilers.
familiar with it. Yeah, whatever. You don't know, you spoiled something that's over like what, 30 years old?
I think 79.
Oh, that's when it came out. I thought.
Oh, 79 years old. Yes, that's how old
Yeah,
the
I'm
movie
like,
is.
Whoa, film's a lot older than I remembered.
Or no, maybe it might be Alien. That is 79. I feel like everyone keeps correcting me on that.
Alien is 79.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing might be 82 then. I was just discussing this with Strider because we watched They Live and got into a whole discussion about Carpenter
Oh,
movies.
that's on my list to watch.
But okay, so while
Okay,
you go
redo
take
that. I'm closing
care
my
of all
door.
the noise in your background, so my number one game is one called Parks. If you've ever seen it, it has beautiful art. I recommend buying the game. One, for the art. Two, the gameplay is pretty fun. Three, I believe, if I remember correctly, sales go towards helping to fund national park like services to help keep national parks open. I forget how much of the proceeds go towards it. And I believe they also enlisted like a group of artists to do all the different art for all the different parks. But to go with my theme of being lazy and kind of dream job, and I guess this kind of goes hand in hand as a nice transition from DPayne's where he likes exploring. In parks, you're a hiker that just wants to go to all the national parks in the US. I already want to do that. I would love to do that. Can I do that? No, because it costs money and time, and they're spread all the way across the US. But it has, I forget how many national parks are listed in it. I want to say it's over 50, because they also include national parks from places like um, the Bahamas, and they have like multiple ones in Florida that include like reefs and stuff. I might be confusing the Bahamas, but they do have like multiple like underwater national parks, so like it includes reefs and stuff. But I remember wanting to pick this up at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia, and I kind of have a routine where I'll get certain games on my like need now list on the first day, spend Saturday just enjoying the con, and then on Sunday I go, all right, is there anything I tried or saw that I also want to pick up? But then when I went back there to pick it up, it was all sold out. So I asked for it for Christmas for my brother, which I got it. But it's got, if you've ever played the game Tokaido, it's got a very similar game style, except they offer you a second token so that you don't have that constant. They give you a second token, and they also give you a campfire site token so that you don't get into that same kind of like locked in feeling that Tokaido can give you. You get a little bit more flexibility with what you can do, and you also have hidden objectives that can also help you get points end game. But I like it. It's a nice relaxing game, and all the art's really pretty, and they also provide you like little 1 or 2 sentence facts about each national park as they flip up in the deck.
That's cool. And you brought up Tokaido, and it brings back a very specific memory because I remember watching a video on it. I'm like, oh man, this is cool. And we tried to. This is when I lived in New York, and so like me and like a whole bunch of other people had a board game night. And my friend, she brought it, like she bought it, and because she watched the videos, and she's like, oh man, this is cool. And then we tried to play it, and like it's one of those things we totally didn't understand the rules, but we figured like, hey, let's try to learn it as we go. And yeah, we realized that was the wrong crowd.
Yeah, it can be Tokaido in its base form. If you just play it by the rules and don't just enjoy the aesthetic of the game, can definitely turn into a weird, mean cutthroat thing if you let people get it there.
No, like we never got past starting.
Oh, well, that's also
they're like,
unfortunate.
they're like, what is this dumb game? I don't understand. I'm like, it's a cool game. We're just like, there's multiple steps. We just got to figure out like what does what, and then it's just like at the point where we're like, okay, let's just go to Pirate Flux.
Flux
Which
is
I really
a
like
nice,
that.
easy game to get into, but I would not want to live in the world of Flux because the rules are constantly changing.
Yep.
Life is already
almost
hard
made my
enough.
list.
It almost made it on the list. Life is already hard enough. Why you got to keep changing the goals every 2 minutes?
Look, and then you can tell which friends you need to keep hanging out with when you play Pirate Flux or any Flux version. Excuse me. That tells you can do an extra turn if you talk in this style voice. And anyone that doesn't talk like a pirate in Pirate Flux, when that rule is out in play, you're like, well, what are you doing? It's another turn. Who cares how dumb you look? You get to do another turn.
I will give you guys a piece of advice. The creator of all the Flux games and a couple other games that they have, I don't really play a lot of the other ones because they're more like thinky games. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my style of game. But Looney Labs, the creator's name is, oh, I'm forgetting his first name, but his last name's Looney. If you ever happen to see him at a convention, he is just like a guy with goofy glasses. He kind of looks like Doc, but kind of like less
Okay.
hair. Like, he doesn't have the
Mhm.
crazy hair the dog has, but he wears a lab coat to conventions. And if you go up to him, and I don't know if he changes what he asks for each time, but if you ask him for like a handshake, a high five, or a fist bump, you'll sometimes get a secret card that he just has in his lab coat pocket that you only get by interacting with him at conventions. One of them, one year at PAX Unplugged, I think I found out through Twitter or something, is him as a card that can go into any Flux game. But the card is not valid unless signed by him. Of course, I
Oh.
didn't put that in any game. It's just sitting somewhere so the signature doesn't rub off.
It's when you laminate it, and it's like, well, we know what card you have.
But I do own multiple versions of Flux. I have, I think, Firefly, um, Cthulhu,
Cthulhu
and
was so fun.
there. I think I gave someone Monty Python one as a gift, and then I think I have base. So I think I have 4. But I know there's like, I know I've given someone Doctor Who Flux as a gift as well.
Mhm. I have Space Cthulhu. I think I have one more, but I'm blanking. But oh man, Cthulhu. I keep forgetting which way it's pronounced. If it's Cthulhu or Cthulhu, because I remember someone told me. But
The fun
anyway,
fact is Lovecraft wrote a language that's not meant to be spoken by people,
yeah,
so it doesn't
it's
matter.
probably pronounced like Katala. But anyway, um, Cthulhu. Cthulhu fucks. There's oh no, there's like the unwin, and it's like that is my goal every time I play is to have the unwin. Even if I don't have the secret cultist card, I'm like, I don't care if someone else has this. I just want us all to lose.
Perfect.
Which is probably why I don't get invited to play games very often. Oh man. Before we go on, I brought over the Humblewood thing that I was talking about earlier, and this is just going to be a visual media that you audio people can't see. But like that little owl dude right there is what sold me on kickstarting this game.
It's very adorable.
And now it's Humblewood by Deck of Many. And
Oh, I've heard
so
of the Deck of Many. They came out with all those cards for
mhm,
the useful things for people, or the
yeah,
resources for D&D 5e. And for anyone that doesn't have the visuals, the owl looks like a little baby barn owl, very small
yeah,
and non-threatening.
but is like all decked out in armor with a shield and sword. So and there's like a big old creepy raven. But yeah, this I know that Humblewood actually came out with a campaign setting. Well, this is the campaign setting, but like they're I don't know if it's in the back of this. I'm like looking really quick. But yeah, they have like their own like story pre-written adventure um that they can do, and I believe they're continuing to like add stuff to it.
Okay.
But so I don't know. I have it. Eventually, it'll get played. Hopefully.
Isn't that the story for everything?
Yeah, just like Seventh Sea and Pathfinder Second Edition's on the floor right there, which that might actually be getting play. That might be something secret coming out later, but I need confirmation. Um,
Yeah, the one system that I own that I've been meaning to get played is Degenesis, which is
oh, that sounds really familiar.
I think it's a German one if I remember correctly, but it's very dystopian and it's kind of I forget what other system it is, but it's a D6 heavy system. So if you combine, you basically have traits, and if you combine traits together, you combine dice together, and then it's like a percentage of how high you roll on all of your 6 dice, and it's a whole thing. But it's very dystopian, and the background lore is very cool.
Sounds a little bit like how Shadowrun their dice system is, because you roll d6s and you need uh five. You need to roll 5 and 6s for successes.
Yeah, I forget. It's been a while. I've done like a one shot with it and like read into the lore a bit, but it's been a while since I've really been super into the game.
Okay, I'm looking at it now, and I kind of have to stop. All right. So then, anything else you wanted to share about exploring national parks?
Nah, I mean, I think I like nature. I have plants behind me. I like
Mhm.
animals as well. So it all coalesces.
Okay, so then, quick spin-off question. Interview. Dun, 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 on the spot with Hop. So, if you could go to any national park right now to visit without like all the quarantine stuff being in like in play, which national park would you go to?
There were a lot of pretty ones. I forget the name of one, but there was one in the game in Alaska where they had the Aurora Borealis in the background. So I think that would be speaking of your
Mm-hmm.
background, but right now for your green screen. But I
Another
think
visual thing.
like at first I was gonna say Yosemite, but I know that's like I feel like that's on everybody's list, so I figured I'd go for another one. I don't remember the name of the actual one off the top of my head, but I like the idea of having that quiet campsite where you can actually see stars
Like
and then all
Chernobyl.
that.
Like Chernobyl.
Hmm?
Is Chernobyl made a national park yet?
I don't know that you can.
You go in there and you don't need to take drugs. It will be injected into you via the atmosphere.
Just through your pores of your skin.
Yeah. You'll leave glowing. All right. So then, moving on to bad. Um, so this, these two, they're two. I feel like for bad because I remember I wrote this to Hop. I think it was yesterday, where I'm like, this one's really tough because I really like one of the games on here, like a whole lot, but I wouldn't want to live in this world. And the game I'm about to mention, I do enjoy playing it a lot. I love the concept, but I wouldn't want to live in this world either. Um, because living in a world where kaiju are a real thing is terrifying. And so that is why King of Tokyo is my runner-up terrible world to live in.
I agree. Again, it's really stressful. Imagine looking out your window one day and you're like, "Ah, the giant rabbit robot is fighting with a big dinosaur penguin."
Okay,
No,
hold
I
on.
think
There was
there's
a
a peng.
dinosaur penguin. I think I'd be okay with this world, but
No, I think there's a penguin and then a dinosaur. I
oh,
actually mixed the
okay.
two.
The way my brain translated that, they were combined.
That's how I said it, so it's fine.
Still, a giant penguin. I would still be okay with this because if it's just still a normal penguin, that thing is like King Derp. It makes me wonder though if that was real, would well no, because even if we started building like dwarf cities underground, there's still monsters that can burrow under the ground. So
100%. And also, if they're fighting enough, they're stomping around and they're probably
yeah,
throwing each other on
collapsing.
the ground.
Yeah. It'd be like Gurren Lagann, where everyone just lives underground because they believe the sky doesn't exist or something. I can't remember the original reason they were underground. Um, but uh, but yeah, it's which like for anyone that's been at my Twitch channel, my streams, or just hearing me talk about like story, TV, movie stuff that I like, giant kaiju, giant robots, Gundam stuff. I love. I love that stuff so much. Would I want to live in the world where those giant things actually existed? No, because I know myself. One, I'm too fat and uncoordinated to be a Gundam pilot. And two, um, Godzilla is only cool when he's not here. um, I'm waiting for like System Shock to come out. He's like, yes, just like the Cloverfield monster, it should never existed. But um, we love you, System Shock. Thanks for being number one guest. You were number one guest. We only had one, so don't look into it. Uh, but yeah, it's just one of those things where like it's the same thing that I would not want to live in a superhero world because they like you would just be sitting there like, and I know animated movies kind of touch into this a little bit, like a little bit, but mainly for a humorous thing. But I think if superheroes just like kaiju were real, it would be like a dystopian where it actually would probably bring everyone together a whole lot like more because there's an actual threat. More kaiju. Superhumans might be a little bit more difficult, but it's it's just like one of those things where I'm like, well, besides and welcome to the inner way my brain works because you're gonna be like, DPayne, you're thinking about this way too much. But welcome to how my brain looks at the kaiju problem if it was real. Not only do we have to worry about surviving and defending and finding countermeasures for these giant indestructible monsters, and I guess I should also explain what King of Tokyo is before I keep going into here. King of Tokyo is a board game where the players play as kaiju, giant monsters, and you are trying to like
Out
kill off.
monster.
You're trying to kill off all these other giant monsters and be the in Tokyo and win. I think there's like another way you can win by gathering enough points to do it as well. But pretty much like you are just fighting monsters in Tokyo.
Yeah, it's
Which,
like it's basically like two major. Well, I guess three in theory. Either
you can have three.
kill off everybody else, gather enough points so that you're like the king monster, or be in Tokyo for like
5 turns, I think it is.
Yeah.
Or consecutively.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it works is like there's certain cards where it's just like there's certain abilities where you pull things, and if you are in Tokyo, like everyone that's not in Tokyo attacks you, but then you can attack everybody else, and then like it just kind of switches. So it's like you can leave Tokyo, and it's just like you got to think preemptively. It's a really fun game if you have a lot of people, and the art's really cool. But anyway, the problem with living in a world with kaiju, giant monsters, is not like just everything I said, like just doing that. It's like if you have to rebuild a city every time a monster comes through, like a monster battle happens, well then what is the point of money? Because it's like, well, no, just rebuild it because we have to. And then it's like, well, what becomes the point of like economic situations in that world? Because it's like money is worthless. Entertainment is like it's going to be not what we call it today, because you're going to be sitting there and it's like, oh man, I'm playing my D&D might be something to actually persist because you don't need a whole lot to play that. But it's like I'm playing Skyrim third year, the third system it's come out. Like, watch, Skyrim's coming to PS5, Xbox X, whatever it's called, and I think it's on the Switch. That's going to be on the next gen consoles. But you're gonna be playing your Skyrims, and all of a sudden you'll look out and they're stinking like Godzilla Jr. getting ready to do like a laser nostril blast at a giant death penguin. I think we found our mascot, Kaiju Penguin.
Giant
death penguin. Artist, get on it. No. But yeah, it's like, and this is why I think like the world would come together in a way that we wouldn't understand, because but at the same time there'd be so many issues, because it's like I think there would be kind of like Children of Men, where in the movie Children of Men, people can't have kids anymore, and so there's things that advance like technology wise. So like cars, they advance so much. Computers keep advancing; they're super high tech and advanced. However, building upkeep and just other like things that you would want to last for more generations don't keep getting updated or taken care of. And so like people are like blowing up buildings, and they're just sitting there like, okay, whatever. And then like it's at the bank, and there's people keep writing their check because it's like it doesn't matter because there's no generation after this one. And part of me wonders, like, would infrastructure, and if that's the right word, but pretty much like construction and all this stuff, and like military, I feel like would get all these advancements, and probably like some sort of transportation would be getting advancements, but it's just like any form of entertainment would on a mass scale would be gone. uh, and just like other things that we would take for granted because like why would you put effort into all these things when a giant monster just like falls over and sits on your building could make it just all disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that should be the next dystopian world. Like as much as like Godzilla, let's not get Godzilla, but let's get like another like a Cloverfield, but it's just like more of them, and not like. But it's just one of those things. Like I feel like there's not there probably is there's probably something because I haven't watched any movies or anything, and I'm probably saying like some Netflix show where it is that. And because I don't have Netflix, I don't know it, but it's just like I think that would be an interesting concept just to explore is a dystopian world where it's not like a Mad Max dystopian or zombie dystopian world or post-apocalyptic. It's like kaijus keep coming up and messing everything up, and like they're doing their battles, and it's really cool to watch 3 towns over. But like,
if you're the guy right underneath their feet.
yes, if
Yeah.
you're town one, like I don't know, it's just something I think would be really interesting and something different to look at. If anyone knows of anything, let me know. If it's a TV show, high chances is I won't watch it, but it'd be really cool to know.
Be cool to know somebody else thought of it too.
Yeah. Make Disney make it. So I'm just gonna say this right now, guys. We're going long.
That was just a runner-up worst.
I know. We're all like I should have known. We took 30 minutes on point our first points. This is gonna be a longer episode. We're probably halfway through. I feel like that's yeah, because I'm looking at time. Normally we try to end in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna
we're
say
we're not gonna
we're
rush.
enjoying the conversation too much. We're just not gonna worry about it. I don't think we
Yes.
should worry about a quiz at the end because I don't know that any quizzes actually really cover this very well anyway.
Yeah. So yeah,
Plus,
that works for me.
And when I scroll through some of the quizzes, for anyone that's newer to listening, we do tend to try and end the podcast with a quiz. But when I was scrolling through, I think all the answers were going to be Monopoly, Risk, Candyland, or Scrabble.
Which, if anyone's been in any conversation like besides this one with me and Hop, we not that we think those games should never be played, we just hate them.
I don't hate all of them. I don't mind Scrabble.
Back me up. Stop it. No. Scrabble, yeah, I guess I don't know. I got a 60 on an open book spelling test, so I don't really want to do anything that involves spelling. But it's just like, okay, let me rephrase, which is, I believe, Hoff's and I's main like disappointment with people, where it's like people are like, I don't like board games. Well, what did you play? Well, I played Monopoly and Risk. It's like, sucker, shut up. Here's some good games. No, I don't like them. It's like, play good games.
Yeah, the closed-mindedness is the more annoying part, where they assume that every board game is just Monopoly redone, where there's actually a lot of board games.
Yeah, I almost put Life on the worst list. I'm like,
It's not the worst. There's not a lot of bad things happening in it that would make me like upset.
Like, and then I thought about it. I was like, not that I want to put it on the worst, but it wouldn't want to be one I live in either.
Mm-hmm.
Because looking at it, I think if I lived in the world of the board game of life, I think I would make more money.
Well, if you look out and don't roll, what is it janitor is the one that has the least amount, or is it I forget.
But it's still, it seems like for the most part,
You also don't have as many consequences, because like I think I played one game where I was a janitor who ended up with a mansion and had 6 sets of twins, and I was like, but I'm not poor yet, so
yeah, there's like, it's one of those games where it's just like no one loses. Like you either get into the big mansion with all your friends, or you get in the slightly smaller mansion with all your friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, but still, there's good games out there. Y'all play some games.
Yeah. If you ever need recommendations, throw them our way. I can talk for a very long time about board games.
Such as this podcast is showing. Team effort. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so my runner-up for least favorite or least ideal world to live in was Betrayal, House on Haunted Hill.
Okay, this was my number one.
Okay, yeah, I was debating putting this number one, but there is a concept in it that I wanted to cover, but I realized it might be a spoiler for anyone that wants to play the Legacy Edition of Betrayal.
I haven't played the Legacy Edition. So.
Yeah, the Legacy Edition has some kind of like background lore that they add in, but you don't find it out till much later in the game, so I won't bring it up. But overall, it's just a very scary house and just environment to have to be in, and like the whole idea of just like, oh hey, just go check out this house for me, and then suddenly your best friend suddenly wants to murder all of you because they got possessed by a random haunted object, and you just gotta deal with it, and you gotta hope you don't die. But most of the time, at least, I feel like most times I've played, at least 2 people have died in every game. Whether for the sake of story or for other things.
Mm-hmm. I'm just remembering us last year playing this.
I know.
Okay, so people don't know. I think it's like one of the first things that like kind of game / stream that Hop and I did together. I'm trying to remember if there was anything before that, but I don't think so, because at that time you were playing a lot of Apex, I think it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I invited you and a few other people, and I immediately forgot the rules of the scenario. So yeah, as that was explained, you start off with explore this mansion, which is cool, and creepy stuff happens, and then creepy stuff excels to, once you get a certain number of things happen, you become, like, the game changes, as I was saying, someone becomes a traitor, and then you all have to go through. Well, Hop became the traitor and then immediately killed me, and I immediately forgot that I could do this thing.
That would have helped me win the game. And instead, the not taking over people were like, ha 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 ha, nanny nanny poo poo, can't get me. And then the game ends and they tell DPayne, wow, you let us win. Thanks for the help. And I went, what?
Then I said, what?
And they explained the rule he left out, and I went, what?
And so did I. It was one of the things I wasn't trying to throw the game, and I wasn't trying to mess Hop up. I was just that one piece of information, because I think what happened is, like, I was still like, okay, here's the rules, is what happens and everything, and then it was like immediately I died, and I'm like, oh, or like I switched to the traitor thing, and I'm like, okay, and then I read the traitor sets of rules, and then I was like, the 2 rule sets like clashed against each other, and I'm like, I don't know what I have to do anymore.
But yeah, so overall, like, we can both agree that while the house is cool and it has, one of the concepts that I really enjoy is that the map is completely randomized, and it's based on how the players move through the house. Like, you open a door and then suddenly a room appears and you never know what room it's going to be. So it does make every game feel different, and the end scenario that you end up with is always random based on the item and the room that you end up in. But at the same time, if I had to put myself in that character's shoes, miserable. Open up a room. Oh, this is a fun mansion. Oh, this is a bloody hall just covered in blood. There's blood everywhere. I found a cool item. The item is a madman that wants to bite me.
And like that's not more, like, that sucks, but like, let's, like, even if it didn't have the second half, it's like, well, that's still a story you're going to tell to a whole bunch of people. Like, the side that I think is really bad is that, like, some of those scenarios, and for people who also have never played this game, there's like, and until you play the expansion, which I don't like the expansion after that one session because some things weren't clear, but whatever. um, the there's like 26 different scenarios that you can do, so I don't even know if it's 26, but there's a lot. There's a lot of different like endings and different ways you can play this game, and it's fun to play like every once in a while and just get different. Like I haven't I've played it a handful of times, but I still haven't gotten the same scenario. But some of those scenarios could literally end the world because you you just have bad luck or bad dice rolls.
Yeah, just, you accidentally open up a portal to another dimension that rips a hole in space-time. Casual day checking out an abandoned mansion.
Yeah. Like, and I checked, like, I've done, is it like urban exploring or something like that, where you go into abandoned buildings? Like, I've done that, and it's really cool. Except for when all my friends ran away like cowards and left me in there.
Oh,
Without,
no.
they ran away. It was like a spur of the moment thing, and so I only had flip flops, and we were in this abandoned magnet factory, and there's like metal and everything, and so they all were walking through. This is when I was a teenager, and I felt like I was invincible more than I do now.
That part of
And
your brain that you explained is not developed.
yes, definitely. And that was definitely in full throttle at that point. So I'm like, I'm invincible, never die. And but then it was like all my friends were the ones that had what, like they found like hammers and metal sticks and like, when it comes over, we're gonna hit. I'm like, you ain't gonna do squat. You're gonna run away. And then it was like they heard a noise and they all ran. And then I realized everyone that had a flashlight is already outside the building, and I'm still in the building
Oh, no.
with open-toed shoes with rusty metal. I'm like, well then, this is quite the predicament. And so, I don't know. I like doing that. Like that's why I think it'd be really fun to go to Chernobyl, just like to explore that whole place. I think it'd be cool. I
With
probably will
open-toed
never.
shoes and no
Oh
flashlights?
yeah, yes, I'll do that. I'll fight a bear. I'm invincible.
How many heads will the bear have?
Not enough. A Hydra bear?
Did you not watch Gravity Falls?
No, never seen it.
There's a multi-bear in it.
Is that a bear with multiple heads?
Yes, and I can't remember if it has multiple arms and legs as well.
After a certain while, I think that would just be too much.
Yeah, but it does have
just...
multiple heads, and it used to be like a graphic I used for the banners for my social media because I really liked that episode that included multi-bear.
Yeah. But yeah, with Betrayal though, it's one of those things where I'm like, I like the game, but I wouldn't want that becoming a reality because like it's not even like world-ending scenarios that come out of that. There's like you can free like mass murderers and like creepy kids. Yes, I put them on the same scale.
I mean, yeah, there's those. But like, it does suck to know that you might be the cause to end, like lives outside the mansion. But I think it's also gotta suck if you're in there and you're like,
oh yeah,
hey buddy, hey pal, you're not looking so good, and you're like, oh well, it's because I'm possessed by a ghost, and you're like, so I have to kill you now? 5 minutes ago we were talking about what we were gonna eat after this.
While we stumbled down the blood hallway. And Strider fell down into the basement hole. That would be an interesting TV show.
Should everything be a TV show?
No, but I think it would be interesting where it's just like...
I feel like each podcast we come up with a TV show.
One of them will make us millions of dollars, and then that's our exit strategy.
Retirement.
Yes. But yeah, it's but yeah, I do like Betrayal a lot. But like there's even a scenario, I think I remember reading it, where no one is actually a traitor, but the house just begins to flood, and you have.
I don't know if there's a. I don't think I've read the flooding one. I do remember one where the house starts to fall apart. Like,
Mhm.
that's why I made a joke about ripping up a portal. Because if I remember
Yeah,
right, it's like you open something and then the rooms start disappearing. And if you end up in that room, then your character's dead.
yeah. So, and like with that, and for people once again who never played this game, it's not like you can just leave. There's normally things you have to do to like have the front door open,
Mm-hmm.
or it's like escape in this many turns.
Yeah, and then
And
you
you're
can
like,
do something to delay something else.
yeah. So, but but yeah, I know I've done the Frankenstein scenario. I think I've done the sinking one, and then we did that weird one that we will always remember.
To make a point about the expansion, I know I was excited for the expansion, but I've heard a lot of complaints from people, and I kind of agree with it because I've played it a handful of times where the expansion, some of the stories are fan created, and they were only brief, if I remember right, they were only briefly reviewed by the creators of the game. So people like wrote them, but no, they weren't tested in the same way that the original scenarios were tested, so that you can get weird ones. Like I played one where the concept was you had to show people cell phones to make them go crazy, and we were all kind of like, hmm. Like I
Yeah,
guess it's a cool concept, but it's not like as thrilling as finding out your one that I usually end up playing is one where you have to like reconnect the girl character with a mummy, and you have to have a ring, and you need to get them married, and then all that stuff. Like that's I don't know. That feels much more intense than like, hey, look at my phone, scary.
yeah. But it's definitely one of those things where I feel like I don't know. I'm just thinking of the scenario that we're talking. I don't feel bad about spoiling this one. Like, there's like pretty much people have to like they had to make sure that you couldn't touch the tomes. Like, the people need the tomes to like um
get
translate
get clues
something.
to a password.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, they could be destroyed, but you couldn't touch them. But it's like, I don't understand why in the trader manual that information also wasn't said, because like it said in uh the survivor one. Like, I feel like that should have been in the trader one rather than the survivor one. Like, you can't pick it up, but players can pick it up. Like, that's where I was getting all like confused and like, wait, can I hold this? Can I not hold this? And then like that bit of it, like, and that's why I wanted to look at the original rule book, because like I looked at it, but I guess I can't. And like it was, and I'm also I don't know. There was just like a lot of factors that I'm just like, brain was going like like, also being live while trying to do this very quickly, and I'm like, um figure this out.
No, I understand. Like
So
I don't hold anything
no,
against you.
no,
It's
it's
just
like one of the.
like
I mean, I'm not trying to build a case against you. I'm just like, it's one, or for you. It's just like one of those things where I'm like, man, it'd be really nice if that one little bit of information was also in the trader book, because I don't know why it was hidden from the trader.
it's probably
So,
so that I don't like convert
yeah,
people and then force them to do things. I guess. I don't know. Like I can
yeah,
kind of see why that should be a secret because like I don't know. It's there were
yeah,
balancing issues in the expansion for sure.
yes. So if we do it again, I just want to play the base one.
Yeah, no, that's completely fair.
At least on stream. I think if I was playing it off, not on stream, like, and
Oh, I
I
won't play
wasn't.
the expansion off stream. I personally will not choose to play with the
Yeah,
expansion.
still. Well, you played Legacy Betrayal, right?
Yes.
Now,
Betrayal Legacy is fun in that conceptually at the end, like you did like you different things happen to shift the board and the space and things like that, and certain cards go in and out of play. And then they say that after that, you can play it as if it's regular Betrayal and you don't have legacy rules anymore. But now you have your own custom version of Betrayal that someone else might not have the exact copy of, based on how your legacy went.
And so I guess I was wondering, because I know this is something I think I mentioned to you, doing a legacy like game like that took the course of a year with a group. And so would, like, if you do legacy betrayal version, does that kill the replay value? Like, not of the base game, but of the legacy version?
I think it's been long enough that I don't remember how everything affects the end and what happens between. There are going to be story like beats that I'm clearly going to remember because they stand out to me, because it was like one of those like, oh snap, what just happened moments. So I might not have that same level of like ooh and ah as everybody that hasn't experienced it.
I'll just blame that on your fiveness.
But no, but overall I don't think that there's any, because it's been so long. I want to say if it hasn't been a year, it's close to a year since I played it. So I probably don't remember what will affect the outcome.
Yeah, I guess I just wasn't sure if and we are way off the topic, but still, guys, as what happens when you have two people that really love board games get talking, we forgot that we're on Strum. No. Like, it was one of those things I didn't know if like it also switched up, just like how by certain things happening in Betrayal, you can get different endings. I didn't know if, depending how you did things, it would shift the story a little bit, which would get semi-difficult, but excuse me. So
I would just say, like, I don't know if there are online versions of the legacy stuff, because a big part of the rule set is destroying components or like not reading things, because that's the big draw of the legacy game, where, well, it's also like a big negative where people are like, wait, I'm buying this like so big of a game and I can only in theory play it once.
Yeah.
Because you are destroying components, you can't start back from the beginning. But I know games like, I know one that you've also talked about is which I haven't gotten to play yet. What's that really big game? Really big boy that's like D&D but not D&D.
Oh, Gloomhaven.
Gloomhaven, yes. There are people that sell supplements for Gloomhaven where they come up with concepts to make reusable stickers so that it's not as permanent. And I know I have a literal Dungeons and Dragons version of like an adventure card game kind of style, where there is a legacy component where you can play a campaign, you stick with a character, and people suggested to us at the convention hall that you put the stickers on magnets so that if you want to reuse them, you can just like move it around. Or I think my brother suggested that you could also basically put it in like you know how there's like card sleeves, kind of like laminate the stickers and then put Velcro on the back so you could not one time use the boards.
Yeah. So this is funny because I remember you saying, for something that we were talking about, that won't happen for hopefully a while, but it's just the behind the scenes podcast or like brainstorming.
Oh, if it ever happens.
That is pretty much what it will be. I don't know how interesting a whole brainstorming session of our unfiltered, I don't know, I guess this whole podcast is our unfiltered thought process of this game, of whatever. But yeah, guys, welcome to conversations of Hop and Payne when we're not on camera.
Except we're on camera and being recorded our audio for future purposes. Sorry, audio listeners that are not used to us.
Yeah. This if you guys ever wondered what, like, do Payne and Hop really talk like this all the time? Sort of. It's just not as, we're just not yelling at each other playing games.
Yeah, we don't have another factor to yell at each other about right now, so we're just off brainstorming of things. But yeah, did you have anything else to bring up for Betrayal?
No. Nothing else on Betrayal. Except it's really fun. And if people wanted to play a game that wasn't Monopoly, Risk, or Candyland, I don't know why Candyland's in that as well. Play Betrayal. It's a little bit of a rule system to pick up, but once you learn, it's not as complicated as other games.
Yeah, the introductory, like a big part of the beginning of the game, is very straightforward. It
Mhm.
really only picks up towards the later half, and even then, you can just read the rules once you get to that later half of the game
Yes.
anyway.
Yes. So that game is both Hop and Pain approved. It's Giant Death Penguin approved.
All right, so yeah, so I kind of overlapped with your worst one then.
Yes.
So then, my actual least favorite world to want to have to live in for a tabletop world is whatever world you would consider that One Night Ultimate Werewolf exists in.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
a fun game.
it's a very fun game. It's a very fun hidden trader game, and I enjoy it. The bigger problem is kind of like your kaiju idea. If you were living in a village and you like woke up one day and then everyone's like, "There's a werewolf in here," and you're like, "Again." And then you have to go
Yes.
through all the trials again, and then you're like, "Well, he seems suspicious, so we should murder him." And you murder him, and you're like, "He's not a werewolf." How many people are gonna have left in your village? How many
Well,
people?
there's only the thing. Uh, well, here it's your game. Do you want to explain kind of the basics so people
Okay,
understand?
so the way that One Night Ultimate Werewolf works, it's the general concept of like the hidden trader kind of idea, where depending on your group size, everyone's dealt a random card. Some of the cards are just cards with no abilities, some of them are cards with abilities to help try and like sniff out the werewolf, and then there are cards where you are the werewolf and you're the bad guy. Essentially, what happens is you all close your eyes. Uh, Everyone takes like you're guided via, you can either be guided by a person, but I have an app on my phone that will guide you through what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
And as things happen, basically the werewolves will choose to murder someone in the night, and then everybody has to open their eyes, and then they all go into a big old flurry of yelling, and mostly yelling, trying to convince each other, everyone's trying to convince each other they're not the werewolf while also trying to accuse somebody else of being the werewolf. You vote for them. If you're right, you win. If you're not, you lose.
Mhm. Yeah, it's Mafia in one round. If you were
Mm-hmm.
familiar with that.
There is the before One Night Ultimate Werewolf, there was the full-fledged werewolf, which is Mafia, and it would go over multiple rounds and multiple nights, but usually you want a bigger like group with that one. I
Mhm.
played both versions, and it's just like for One Night Ultimate Werewolf, just like imagine waking up one day, it's like, hey everybody, somebody died, it looks like a werewolf did it, so we gotta do the thing where we all yell at each other in the town hall for a couple hours.
Yeah. So it yeah, it's definitely one of those like just thinking the game can't because so I don't know how legal it is, but I know there's a free version online um to play where it's just like it just has the concept you and it's all digital. Um and like we played it when this COVID season if people are listening to this in the times and days when hopefully we don't have the pandemic going on, like, and people are like, "What is this?" And we weren't allowed outside or meeting with people. We played it a lot with like my church's youth group, and it was one of those things that just got very annoying because everyone would do they would play the roles the same way, and like for example, the seer card. I think it's the seer. You can either look at someone else's card or you can look at two cards in the middle. And I would always choose the two cards in the middle because I'm like, it's no fun just finding out one person's card. It's more interesting if you know what people don't have, so that way you can catch them in a lie. So, but yeah, I could imagine like, I don't know, I could imagine that like world. It's not like uh like a world ending scenario, but it's like I also imagine it being like my apartment complex where it's just everyone's like, oh, everyone, that loud annoying neighbor died last night, but we can tell there was claw marks and everything else. So, who? Let's start it up.
Yeah, but there is also like, if you think of it, if you have to live in that world and you don't catch the werewolf the first night, it's not over. Like, it
Yeah.
would turn into just the regular werewolf edition. So then you
Mhm.
also have the added paranoia of like, well, I'm going to sleep tonight. Will I wake up tomorrow? We didn't find the werewolf. There might be more than one werewolf.
Yeah. It would be the way the world was a couple months ago, but without masks. It was just like, don't get near me. Go away.
Well, I guess it's one thing because, like, the world a few months ago, you could at least stay in your house and self quarantine. In the world
Mhm.
of One Night Ultimate Werewolf, it doesn't matter if you're in your house. The werewolf
Yeah.
finds a way in.
Yeah. And now I'm just trying to remember werewolf lore because vampires they have to be invited in.
Yes, I don't think werewolves have any limitations in that factor.
You know why? Because they're ripped.
They just rip the door open.
No, they're just super ripped. They just yeah. Well, I guess yes, they could rip the door open or just. Oh man, what would be worse? Like
I
I'm
mean, there
trying
is
to.
a One Night Ultimate Vampire edition that you can mix with One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and there's also One Night Ultimate Alien, and I don't think I bought the Alien one, but I do own the Vampire one.
I'm just imagining like the alien was like. "Yeah, I feel like you need to do the redneck voices that I was doing for the D&D campaign. Like, hey, what you doing over there? Hey, yeah, you alien. But it's like just lore wise. Yeah, okay, guys, we already said this episode's going long. But like, what would be the worst? Like, because at least vampires, like, yeah, you for them to come inside, they have to be invited.
Yes, but depending on which vampire lore you believe, there is also vampire lore in which that they can seduce people so that you go outside of your house without realizing you've left your house.
Well, I don't have to worry about that. No one is seducing me.
All right, seduce might
Like,
be the
ooh.
wrong word, but they do it as seduction in the, classic movies because it's usually, male vampire and young female that's, walks out of the house. I guess
Yeah,
hypnosis might be a better.
yeah. And that's when you do like 30 days of night, I think, or 30 days of darkness.
The Alaska.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Like the concept of it had a real dumb ending, but it's definitely one of those things where, at least in my apartment, I feel like there's maybe a couple. There's like three entrances, and it's like okay, if I can get the UV lighting, like the sunlight lighting thing, and just point it at the just point it at the entrances if they come in. So yeah, like I guess that would be the question of like there's that one lore and the hypnotism to get you out, but like I'm just trying to think.
There's a lot of lore you would have to establish before I feel like we could have a fair argument. I feel like a whole
I'm
nother
just
episode would have to just. I just
what's
had an
worse.
idea. Yeah, I just had an idea for maybe a possible episode that we might have to do in the going future.
Yes.
We could do this
Oh,
discussion.
yes, for what the scenario we were talking about this week.
Sorry for
Okay.
everyone. We did end up doing a behind the scenes episode without realizing it, but now we
Yeah.
tune in next week for an announcement about what we're doing with this topic now.
Okay. So now I just want to talk about. Okay, we're gonna have to add. Okay, we'll talk about this after the podcast.
Yes, but I do think we should probably start wrapping up in a little bit.
No, I want to keep talking about freakazoids coming to the house.
Ultimately, I feel like I said, for my ideal worlds I'd like to live in for board games, I just want something relaxing, easy. I don't have to have high stress. Life is stressful enough. Just give me the dream job where you can just go and wander and not have to worry about responsibilities. Whereas when I Ultimate Werewolf, yeah, you don't have responsibilities, but you're going to bed sweating. Especially because, like, there's also the question of the lore of how people get turned into werewolves. Will you have will the whole village become a werewolf village? Then at that point, I guess you don't have to worry so much. But then you'll
Yeah.
probably start going hungry, and then it's a whole nother set of issues you'd probably have to deal with
Just go to McDonald's.
on a full moon.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just like it's just a werewolf rave. Like what you do in the shadows. It's just like, oh, what are you doing over there? Just like they're all pissed off at each other,
We're
but don't do anything.
werewolves, not swearwolves.
Yeah. Ah, that's such a great show. Movie. I know it's also a show, but I haven't seen the show.
The show doesn't have too many werewolves in it. They've kind of had some appearances. I do remember that there were talks of doing a movie about the werewolves, which I would love to watch.
Yeah. Well, what is their name? Mark Hamill is in the show.
Yes, he is in the show.
So yeah. So, hey, also we said a board game approved by Hop and Payne movie. Wait, you seen the movie, right?
Yes, I
think
watched
we
the
talked
movie
about
and
this.
both seasons of the show.
Yes. Well, at least movie approved. Watch What We Do in the Shadows. You will not be disappointed. If you are, well, you're dumb.
Yeah, if you liked the newer Hulk standalone movie or Thor and Hulk movie, then it's the same director,
Yeah.
Taika Waititi.
Yeah. I was
Also,
thinking-
Jojo Rabbit's on my list of movies to watch, but that's on a same director.
Wait, Jojo Rabbit said. Is that the one in Nazi Germany?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. I wanted to see that as well. But yeah, it's no, I would agree. That would be super stressful, especially since this week I found out if I sleep a certain way, I have a 75% chance of having a nightmare. So I don't want to add.
You don't want to go to bed already sweating, and then you happen to
Well,
sleep the wrong way, and then you end up.
Sweating is like a personal trait of mine. Like
Well,
I don't
sweating over
fear sweating.
fear sweating, more of an emotional sweat where your brain is sweating. Your brain's like on high alert. Like, what was that noise? What was that noise? What was that noise?
Yeah, it's a real fun thing that I looked up. Apparently, there's like a mental medical condition. I don't think I have it. Like, I would be surprised if I had it. But it's like nightmare syndrome, and it's like people, if they, I was curious about it because I noticed whenever I slept a certain way, about like 70 to 80% chance I was having a nightmare. And it's not like, and my nightmares, like whenever I hear people talk about nightmares, it's like, it's not fear induced like reaction. It's like this huge sense of dread or like, I'm not safe. And I wake up and I'm like, and then I got like the brain hallucinations playing off the shadows. And I'm like, you're not real. You're not real. All right. And I just roll over and go to bed. Like, and I fall asleep on the other side. I sleep on my side, so like I roll over and it's like I'm fine, but it's like I was just, which also kind of messed me up this week because I'm like, is this real? And so this whole week I tried it and I messed up my sleep schedule because I'm like, yeah, okay. It didn't happen last night because I think I was too tired, but yeah, welcome to another insight into the Payne's brain, where it's like, this doesn't seem right. Let's poke it and find out if it keeps happening. So, yeah. So before we go on another tangent, so what were your tops and bottoms of games?
Yes. So worlds to enjoy and not enjoy living in. I said that I would enjoy living in worlds like the networks and parks. Would not enjoy. I was about to mix up their names. Betrayal at House on Haunted Hill and one. Yeah, I was gonna say One Night Ultimate Betrayal at Hill, and I was like, no, that's not it. Because like I do tend to, if I play one of them, I'm probably playing the other one in the same night.
Mm-hmm.
And then One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
Yep. And my good worlds to live in were Seventh Sea with the following up Mouse Guard, and my bad ones were Betrayal and A House on a Hill, followed by King of Tokyo. Yeah, so as people know, going live, and anyone that just looked at the time of this episode, I'm pretty sure this is a big boy. Let's see. We might be under 2 hours.
No, we're at like 2 hours. If we're under 2 hours, it's going to be by a little bit because I still haven't done our outro.
Yeah. Anywho. Yeah, brain died. I'm trying to think there's what else I feel like there's something else we say for now. Like like I know we don't have time for quizzes, which is okay. We didn't really have there spoilers, guys, there wasn't really a lot of good quizzes on this very niche topic. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, thanks everyone for listening and hope you enjoyed this podcast topic. If you we know what we're missing. The next topic to talk about.
Oh yeah.
So is it we keep forgetting the rule. Is it winner or loser rules for the next topic?
I want to say it was loser.
Okay, so I shall roll.
I'm writing it right now in here.
If
Sorry,
it wasn't
guys,
the rule, it is the rule now.
It is now the rule going forward.
Yes. So, because I was going to mention our Twitter. Anyway, so on twitter.com/pointlessdisco, we will have a poll set up soon where you can go and vote for what we should talk about for our next topics. If you're listening to this as a podcast, you'll find the link in the description below. And I rolled a 7. So the loser bracket from last week was Looney Tunes characters. So you can vote on Looney Tunes characters versus
early 2000 songs.
Yes, so that should be a fun one for us to have voted against, both fun topics. And you can find that again at twitter.com/pointlessdisco. So yes, so make sure to go over there, check that out. But we shall start wrapping up the episode now. So I will repeat, thank you for listening.
Yes.
Always appreciated. You can get into contact with us at all on that Twitter page as well. We try to do our updates on there. If you would like to join in on the live audience while we're streaming this, we go live on Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can join in with chat and talk and things. We just don't try not to interact with chat too much while we're recording this so that you as listeners don't have weird, abrupt thoughts that don't seem to make sense. But yeah. And our live streams are on Twitch. Again, in the descriptions below. We also would always appreciate it if you share us with a friend, or if you have the ability to give us reviews, ratings, comments, all that. If you're able to, we would love to see a screenshot of it so that we can find out how to find them.
Yep. Spoilers, we don't know how to find the reviews. So if you could give a review and show us, I still don't know how to access iTunes podcast thing. I click on the internets and it doesn't work. It just doesn't load. So
yes,
if anyone knows how to do that, that would be really nice too.
Yes, so we will, if you leave us nice things to say, maybe we'll give you a shout out. Because I know, was it last week when you pointed out that we have some international listeners and we wanted to thank them because that was pretty cool.
In all our countries, and that it was the last week. Oh no, it was whatever episode. It was an episode after System Shock's thing. But guys, guess what? We also have 2 new countries that are added. I like this scenario where we just add the 2 newest countries, Iceland and France. Welcome to the Pointless family.
Do we want to do that in the intro now too? So after our announcements, we can start
because
giving them thanks.
We also saw that half you guys stopped listening halfway through the episode. So
statistics, baby.
How dare you? This is also why we're a little bit late today.
We do get distracted on things.
Oh man, we get distracted on a lot of things.
No,
we joke. Podcast shows.
We joke about that, but no ill feelings for you guys if you have to stop in the middle of an episode. We do appreciate the listens anyway.
I have all the ill feelings. I thought of something else that I think I might want to share, but I want to confirm with you off stream about it. It's another way to contact us. So, yeah. Beware, there might be future ways to contact us if you so wish. But I just thought of it and remembered it and didn't confirm with Hop before doing so.
Okay.
So yeah. So on the Twitter, If you guys are listening to this on a Monday when it comes out or any other time, hey, well, until I'm look at a calendar because I can't picture dates in my head. Until the 19th, because guess what? On August 19th, 2020, it's too late to vote. Well, if it's past 6 o'clock. I don't know when it actually ends. So generally, by that time, you can't vote anymore. But up till then, you can. I'll put it up there right now, as soon as we finish the podcast. But yeah, there's that. So we'll be talking about that next week. Fun little announcement for next week, which you'll hear about next week. Prepare your butts. It's gonna be cool, hopefully. You'll never stop listening. Well, you'll have to when the episode ends.
And I guess that's the way we'll end this episode.
Yep. Bye-bye.